Let's dive deep into the 7 habits that radically transformed my life in just 1 week. Yes, you heard that right. Just 7 days. I know it sounds almost unbelievable, but I assure you these aren't just generic tips you hear everywhere. These are real, raw, and honest practices that I personally integrated into my daily routine. I've been through struggles, breakthroughs, and triumphs, and the transformation I experienced was truly astonishing. I can't wait to share them with you because they've had such a profound impact on my life, and I believe they can do the same for you. Whether you want to boost your productivity, improve your mental health, or make positive changes in your everyday life, these habits can help you get there. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive in. Trust me, you'll want to stick around until the end because these habits aren't just theoretical. They're practical, actionable steps you can start applying today based on my own experience. I want to give you an honest, unbiased look at how these habits worked for me. So without further ado, let's start with habit number 1, waking up early. The first habit that changed my life was waking up early. Let me be completely honest with you. I was never a morning person. My bed was my best friend, and I hit the snooze button more times than I can count. Mornings were a chaotic mess, and I often felt like I was starting my day on the wrong foot. But I decided to give early rising a shot, and let me tell you, it was a game changer. I started by setting my alarm for 5 a.m. The first few days were brutal. I remember dragging myself out of bed, feeling groggy and wondering if it was really worth it. But I stuck with it, and by the third day, something incredible happened. I started to appreciate the quiet and stillness of the early morning. There was something almost magical about being awake while the rest of the world was still asleep. Everything felt calm and peaceful. Those extra morning hours gave me time for things I never seemed to have time for before. I'd exercise. Nothing intense, just some stretching or a short jog around the neighborhood. It didn't just wake me up. It energized me for the whole day. I also made time for meditation and setting intentions for the day ahead. Those few minutes of mindfulness had a massive impact on my overall mood and productivity. Another unexpected perk of waking up early was that I no longer felt rushed to grab my coffee and plan my day. That slow, steady start set a positive tone for everything that followed. I was more organized, less stressed, and felt a greater sense of control over my time. One personal experience that really stood out was the morning I watched the sunrise from my balcony. It was a simple yet breathtakingly beautiful moment. The sky shifted colors and the world slowly came to life. I felt a deep sense of gratitude and peace. In that moment, I truly understood the power of waking up early. Now, early rising might not be for everyone, but I encourage you to give it a try, even if it's just for a week. Start by waking up 15 minutes earlier and gradually build from there. You might be surprised at how much of a positive impact it can have on your life. It's not just about the extra hours in your day. It's about using those hours to create a more intentional, focused, and fulfilling start. On to habit number 2, daily exercise. The second habit that truly transformed my life was daily exercise. I'll be upfront. I wasn't always the most active person. I'd come up with every excuse to avoid working out. I'm too tired, I don't have time, or I'll start tomorrow. Sound familiar? But one day I decided enough was enough. I committed to moving my body every day for a week, and the results blew me away. I started small, just 20 minutes a day, mixing things up with yoga, running, and strength training. I wanted to keep it fun so I wouldn't get bored and quit halfway through. The first few days were tough. My muscles ached. I felt exhausted, but I kept reminding myself why I was doing it, to feel better both physically and mentally. By the third day, something amazing happened. I woke up with more energy and my mood noticeably improved. I was less irritable and more positive. I realized those 20 minutes of exercise weren't just about burning calories or building muscle. It was time for me to unwind, de-stress, and boost my endorphins. One morning, I remember lacing up my sneakers for a run, and as I jogged, I felt a sense of freedom and clarity I hadn't experienced in ages. It was simple. Just me, the open road, and my thoughts. That connection to myself and the world around me was incredibly uplifting. I also started noticing physical changes. My posture improved, I felt stronger, and I could see a difference in my overall fitness. But the biggest shift happened in my mind. Exercise became a time to disconnect from the world and reconnect with myself. It turned into a form of self-care rather than a chore. One personal moment that stuck with me was when I tried yoga for the first time. I was skeptical at first, thinking I wasn't flexible enough or that it wouldn't be a real workout. But after a few sessions, I fell in love with it. Yoga taught me to be present, breathe deeply, and listen to my body. It was a transformative experience that went beyond the physical benefits. Bringing daily exercise into my life made me realize that taking care of my body directly impacts my mental health and overall happiness. It's not about pushing yourself to the limit. It's about finding movement you enjoy and making it a regular part of your life. If you're like me and struggle to get started, my advice is to start small. Find something you love, whether it's dancing, hiking, or just a brisk walk. Commit to just a few minutes a day and build from there. Trust me, the results are worth it. It's a habit that can transform not just your body, but your entire outlook on life. On to habit number 3, journaling. The third habit is journaling. I used to think journaling was only for people with tons of free time or those naturally inclined to introspection. I was skeptical. Who has time to write down their thoughts when there's so much going on? But 1 week of consistent journaling completely changed my perspective, and it's become a cornerstone of my personal growth. I started simple. Every night before bed, I'd spend 10 minutes writing. I grabbed a plain notebook and a pen that felt good in my hand. No fancy apps, no effort to make it pretty. Just me and my thoughts. The first night I sat staring at a blank page, unsure where to begin. But then I started with the basics. How my day went, what made me happy, and what challenges I faced. Each day, I went deeper. I wrote about my goals, fears, dreams, and even insecurities. It felt like a conversation with myself. And that's when the magic started. I began noticing patterns in my thoughts and behavior. I realized some things I worried about were completely out of my control, while in other cases, I could take specific steps. One evening, I wrote about a particularly stressful day at work. Putting my thoughts on paper helped me process my emotions better. I described what frustrated me, how I felt, and what I could do differently next time. That simple act of reflection brought clarity and a greater sense of emotional control. Another powerful aspect of journaling was tracking my progress. I jotted down small wins and achievements, even the tiny ones. Looking back at those entries gave me a sense of satisfaction and motivation to keep going. For example, I wrote about a presentation I was nervous about and how I prepared for it. Seeing my process and the positive outcome documented in my journal was incredibly encouraging. Every day in my journal, I listed 3 things I was grateful for. This practice shifted my focus from what was lacking in my life to what I already had. It was a simple but profound change that brought more positivity into my daily routine. One especially memorable entry was about a random act of kindness I experienced. A stranger helped me carry heavy grocery bags. Writing it down not only made me feel grateful, but also inspired me to pay it forward. Journaling helped me understand myself better, my desires, fears, strengths, and weaknesses. It became a form of therapy, a way to untangle the messy web of thoughts and emotions we all carry. It gave me a safe space to be completely honest with myself, free from judgment. If you've never tried journaling, I highly recommend starting. Don't worry about writing perfectly or having profound thoughts. Just write whatever comes to mind. It could be a stream of consciousness, a quick recap of your day, or a reflection on something specific. Let yourself express whatever you're feeling. You might be surprised by how much clarity and meaning it brings to your life. It's not about what you write, it's about the act of writing itself. On to habit number 4, mindful eating. The next habit is mindful eating. This one hit home for me because, like many people, I often ate on the go, barely paying attention to what or how much I was consuming. Meals were rushed, often while scrolling on my phone or working on my laptop. I didn't even realize how much this affected my overall well-being until I decided to try mindful eating for a week. Mindful eating is about fully focusing on the experience of eating and drinking, both inside and outside your body. It means savoring each bite, noticing flavors, textures, and even the sounds of your food. So I committed to eating all my meals mindfully. I started by setting the scene, clearing the table of clutter, setting it nicely, and removing distractions. No phone, no TV, no laptop. At first, it felt a little odd, just sitting quietly with my food, but it soon turned into a soothing ritual. I'd begin each meal by centering myself and focusing on the present moment. One of the first things I noticed was how much more I enjoyed my food. I took time to really taste and appreciate every bite. Food I'd eaten hundreds of times suddenly had new vibrant flavors and textures I'd never noticed before. By eating slowly and mindfully, I gave my body time to signal when I was satisfied. This was a huge shift for me because I used to ignore those hunger and fullness cues. I found myself eating less and feeling more content. One memorable moment was with a simple bowl of oatmeal. Normally, I'd shovel it down without thinking, but this time I ate slowly, savoring the creamy texture and the subtle sweetness of the honey I drizzled on top. It became a moment of gratitude and mindfulness that set a positive tone for the day. I also started noticing how different foods have affected me. Heavy processed meals left me sluggish and weighed down, while fresh, whole foods gave me energy and lightness. This awareness naturally led me to make healthier choices without feeling restricted or deprived. Another aspect of mindful eating was recognizing my emotional connection to food. I began noticing when I ate out of boredom, stress, or for comfort rather than true hunger. That realization was powerful. Instead of mindlessly snacking, I could address the root emotion. Maybe I needed a break, some relaxation, or a chat with a friend, not a bag of chips. One evening, I felt the urge to grab something sweet after dinner. Instead of automatically reaching for dessert, I paused and asked myself if I was truly hungry or just seeking a reward after a long day. I realized I wasn't hungry and opted for a cup of herbal tea instead. It was a small victory that showed me how impactful mindful eating can be. Incorporating mindful eating into my life helped me develop a healthier relationship with food, improved my digestion, and even boosted my overall well-being. It's a habit I've kept up beyond that first week, and I can't recommend it enough. If you're curious about trying mindful eating, start with one meal a day. Sit down without distractions, take a few deep breaths, and savor each bite. Notice the flavors, textures, and how the food makes you feel. You might be amazed at how this simple practice can transform your entire eating experience. It's a wonderful way to reconnect with your body and truly appreciate the nourishment food provides. Next up, habit number 5, limiting screen time. The fifth habit is limiting screen time. This one was particularly tough for me, and I suspect it might be for many of you too. We live in a digital world, and it's so easy to get caught up in endless hours of scrolling social media, binge watching shows, or checking emails. But I realized all that screen time was taking a toll on my mental health, productivity, and even my sleep. So I decided to set some boundaries and see what happened. I started by capping my non-work screen time at 1 hour a day. That meant no mindless Instagram scrolling, no endless YouTube marathons, and no late-night Netflix binges. At first, it was hard. I was so used to filling every spare moment with screen time, but I knew something had to change. The first thing I noticed was how much extra time I had in my day. I hadn't even realized how much screens were stealing from me until I intentionally cut back. With those extra hours, I rediscovered old hobbies and interests I'd let slip away. I picked up a book I'd been meaning to read, started sketching, and even tried new recipes in the kitchen. One evening, instead of watching TV after dinner, I took a walk in the park. The fresh air, sounds of nature, and simple movement were incredibly refreshing. It was a stark contrast to the usual screen-induced sluggishness. That walk became a favorite part of my daily routine. I looked forward to it and genuinely enjoyed it. Another big change was the quality of my sleep. I used to take my phone to bed, scrolling through social media or watching videos until I felt sleepy. But that habit often left me wired and restless, leading to poor sleep. By limiting screen time, I found it easier to wind down and fall asleep. I started a screen-free evening ritual, reading a physical book, meditating, or just reflecting on my day. That shift led to deeper, more restful sleep, which made a huge difference in my overall energy levels. I also noticed an improvement in my mental health. Without the constant stream of news updates, social media comparisons, and digital distractions, I felt less anxious and more present. I was more focused during conversations, more attentive to the people around me, and more engaged in my daily activities. It was like a fog had lifted, letting me see and feel life more clearly. One particularly memorable day was when I spent an afternoon at a local cafe with just a notebook and pen. I jotted down thoughts, planned goals, and even doodled a little. It was such a peaceful, productive time, free from digital interruptions. I felt more connected to myself and the world around me in a way screens never allowed. Of course, there were moments of temptation and slip-ups along the way, but whenever I caught myself reaching for my phone out of habit, I gently reminded myself of the benefits I was experiencing and redirected my attention to something more meaningful. Limiting screen time isn't about cutting out technology completely. It's about creating a healthier balance and being more intentional with your time. Start small. Maybe set aside one screen-free hour a day. Use that extra time to reconnect with yourself, your loved ones, or the world around you. You might be surprised at how much richer and fuller life feels when you step back from screens and lean into the real world. Next up, habit number 6, reading before bed. The sixth habit that made a big difference was reading before bed. As I mentioned earlier, I used to fall asleep staring at my phone or TV screen, which wasn't doing my sleep or well-being any favors. So I decided to swap that habit for reading books before bed. I chose books that interested me but weren't too intense or heavy, nothing that would overstimulate my mind before sleep. Think fiction, biographies, or light nonfiction. I'd spend just 20 to 30 minutes reading each night before turning in, and I noticed positive changes right away. First, reading helped me unwind and detach from the day's chaos. Instead of stressing about tasks or replaying events in my head, I'd get lost in a good story or learn something new. It took my mind off worries and eased me into a calm state for sleep. Second, I started falling asleep faster and sleeping better. Screen light messes with melatonin production, the hormone that helps us sleep. Switching to a physical book, I found myself drifting off more easily, and my sleep felt deeper and more restorative. Another unexpected bonus of reading before bed was how much you can get through in a short time. Even at 20 to 30 minutes a day, you can finish a few books in a month. It's not just great for personal growth, it's satisfying to complete a book and gain new insights. I also noticed how reading sparked my imagination and sharpened my focus. Unlike the rapid-fire info dump of the internet, reading demands attention and immersion. It boosts cognitive skills and improves your ability to concentrate on one thing at a time. If you want to try this habit, start by picking a book that genuinely excites you. Make it something you want to read, not something you feel you should read. Turn it into a cozy bedtime ritual. Light a candle, grab a warm blanket, and settle in. You'll be amazed at how much it can improve your sleep and overall well-being. And finally, habit number 7, daily meditation. The seventh and final habit that had a massive impact on my life was daily meditation. I'd always heard about the benefits: less stress, better focus, a sense of calm. But like many, I thought meditation was hard, time-consuming, or that I'd never be able to quiet my mind. But I decided to give it a go for a week, meditating every day, and it changed my life. I started with short 5-minute sessions, using a simple meditation app to guide me. I'd sit in a quiet spot, close my eyes, and focus on my breathing. The first few times were tricky. My mind wandered constantly, and I felt like I wasn't doing anything useful, but I kept at it. By midweek, I noticed a shift. My mind felt a bit calmer, and I became more aware in my daily life. Meditation taught me to notice my thoughts and emotions without getting swept up in them, just observing them instead. It gave me a sense of control and peace. One standout moment came midweek when I felt anxious about an upcoming big event. Instead of spiraling, I sat down, closed my eyes, and meditated for a few minutes. It helped me regain clarity and focus, and I tackled the task with a calmer, more confident mindset. Meditation also improved my sleep, lowered my stress levels, and made me more patient. It's now a staple in my morning and evening routines. I learned that meditation isn't about emptying your mind. It's about being present and accepting your thoughts and feelings as they are. If you want to try meditation, start small. Even 5 minutes a day can make a difference. Find a quiet spot, sit comfortably, and just focus on your breath. Let it be your little break from the daily grind. And there you have it, 7 habits that radically changed my life in just 1 week. It's been an incredible journey, not only adopting these habits, but sharing them with you. Each one has the potential for major positive shifts in your life. And I genuinely believe if they worked for me, they can work for you too. If any of these habits sparked your interest, I encourage you to try one this week. See how it fits, tweaking it to suit your needs and lifestyle. Remember, it's not about perfection, it's about progress. It's about making small, manageable changes that build into big transformations over time. I'd love to hear about your experiences, so please share in the comments which habit you're planning to try. Thanks so much for reading, and remember, small changes lead to big results.